Hello! 皆さんこんにちは。キャミシチャンネルのロレッタです。今回日本に引っ越してからもう半年ぐらいが経ったんですけど、なんていうの、両親からの反応が気になって、せっかく実家に帰ってきてから直接その両親に質問したくて、今日の動画をちょっとカジュアル系なインタビューにしたいと思いました。So let's go and meet the parents.
Upside down. Oh,
Exactly. All right. Tell us who you are.
Hi, I'm Daddy David Kevin Scott.
Woohoo! All right. Out you go.
Hello, I'm Mommy. I'm Sherry Scott, Loretta's mommy. I'm so glad to be here. Woohoo!
All right, guys. Welcome to my Jika, my home place where my family lives. Hi, family. I have some silly questions for you guys. They're all in Japanese.
Okay.
No.
No, I'm just kidding.
Have to help us translate.
I just kind of wanted to get like your feelings about, because I've been in Japan for how long now?
Oh,
Like half a year.
Half a year.
So you guys have seen me go to Japan before. I've been studying Japanese for like 15 years at this point.
A long time. Since middle school.
A long time.
Yes.
But you know, it's kind of different this time because I kind of really uprooted. So we're just gonna go through some fun stuff about it.
Sure.
Okay, so the first question is, do you think I've changed since I started learning Japanese language and culture?
I don't know if the word the change is the word as it's actually emerged to the true Loretta. You know, so I don't see it as I'm different, I'm not the person I used to be. You've actually come in, it's like a flower. Before you were like just a baby little flower, little rose, and now you've opened up and you've specialized, but your specialty has reached out to many. So yeah, you have changed, but in a normal growth way.
yeah. In other words, you're normally bubbly,
Right.
and because you've put a purpose to all your gifts and talents, and just your friendly spirit, that basically you've blossomed in what you're purposed in doing.
いや、ちょっと日本語でポイントです。実は私の名前はロレッタですけど、英語で名前は小さいフラワー、ロレッタ、ロラはフラワーっていう意味でロレッタ、小さい flower. So I'm blossoming just like my name means little flower.
Oh,
kaboom!
cool. Oh, that's cute.
So we're gonna just go on to the next questions.
All right.
Okay, so what is the most fun thing about me being in Japan? And what is the hardest thing about me being in Japan as a parent?
How to communicate with you through using the social media, using the like and Skype. and
They're like
FaceTime.
line masters, these guys, sending stamps like all day long.
What's difficult is being able to hug you long distance. They haven't figured that out yet with the video
I
coming.
don't think that one works. Oh my goodness.
The most difficult part is sharing her with others, sharing you with others. I
That's
see what you mean.
Okay, so not as a parent, but from what you've heard from me, what do you think is the most fun part about being in Japan? And what from you've heard from me, what seems to be the hardest part about living in Japan
The most fun part
that you've heard from me?
that I've heard from you is how beautiful the different places are, like the sunflower meadow, you know, the rivers and the water, and how in the mountains in the background, like, I can't wait to get there to see it.
Yeah.
And the most difficult part is not being there to see it.
All of the beautiful detail that's in Japan, and the culture is very detail oriented for beauty and honor.
A lot of that's
And-
called monozukuri.
Oh,
The like from zero to finish, complete, well-made, good process.
yes,
Like, attention to detail, good quality, trust in the maker, like all that stuff.
yes.
Oh, okay. So this is from David H.
Another David.
Another-
Good name. That's a good name.
It's another
in the
David.
Hi,
Bible.
David H.
Hi, David H.
What do you think attracted Loretta to the Japanese language and the country of Japan in particular?
Yeah, David S. I think it all started with the anime, the graphic arts, and of course it was a cartoon format, which was animated, which is part of your personality. And it's amazing how we watched that, and we even didn't realize how much you were migrating and developing and blossoming into that attraction to that culture. But I think it, because you're very visual, like mommy, very visual, and I think the visual and the animation and the beautiful detail were all things that were drawing you from the beginning. We didn't realize how significant it was.
Yeah. I mean, even before anime, you did the origami and hung it in your bedroom from the ceiling. We still don't know how she got up there.
Well, it wasn't origami. It was like my old geometry teacher in elementary school taught us how to make like 3D shapes. So I would create different like 12-sided thing or like ninja star thing, and like I would piece them together and stick them all over the walls.
Yeah,
I still have them.
All over the ceiling.
I can bring them for this video if you want to see them.
No, it's okay. So next question, David H. again.
David H.
Hi, David H.
Has anything particularly surprised you about Loretta's lifestyle or experiences in Japan?
Well, I don't think we realized that you would ultimately actually want to move there permanently, because all of our kids, as you know, travel a lot. Everybody's got passports and we love that, but I don't think we had ever really thought that, as much as we knew you loved it, that you would actually say, I would actually live there, not on a business trip or for a month or so, but live there. So that was kind of a surprise.
So next question.
Next question.
Okay, if you were to visit Japan, what would you want to see?
You?
Okay, I would like to see something I just saw recently. I'd like to see that beach that you went to.
Kyushu, all the way out.
Yeah.
Nagashima.
Oh, and the hot springs.
And the hot spring. Okay, we've got. I'm getting a nature vibe.
Oh, I love nature.
Yeah.
And I want to see the parade, because you know I'm fascinated with parades.
He does like parades,
Yeah,
marching bands.
and their parades have honor. There's a lot, I know, culturally in the parade. It's not just fancy costumes.
No, it's like thousands of years of culture, and usually it's like from that region, so it has like a lot of like locations.
Yeah,
and stuff.
and because of my technical, I want to see the swirly toilets that wash your bottom.
Wash your underneath.
Yeah, want to see how that's done.
Yeah. So next question.
Next question.
This one is from Chanel D. I feel like it's like.
Hi, Chanel.
I feel like this is me sucking up by asking this. So on a scale of 1 to 10, just say, are you proud of me? How proud of me are you?
10 being the best?
I guess, sure.
Okay.
10.
20.
20. 10. We got 30. We got 30, guys.
Yes.
Yay. I thought this was kind of interesting. If I hadn't gotten into like languages and studying Japanese and going to Japan, what do you think I might be doing now?
Broadcasting in America.
Oh, yes, because now this I will say, at the age of 6 years old, you were doing videos.
Yeah.
Remember,
And singing.
She started at the age of 6. You took your pictures that you colored and you created with your printing, and you made little books, and you did the Loretta's
read-along stories.
Read-along story. And so you would have been doing video.
Yeah. Plus you did a video for me for my birthday.
Yeah, that was animated.
Which was amazing.
And music. You would have been doing music. Playing
So,
the
like,
flute,
And
piano.
broadcasting.
So I'd pretty much still be on
The
YouTube.
same thing, yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to my channel.
Yay!
Subscribe. No. I guess like kind of final advice. Like let's say you had another kid. There are 4 of us, by the way. There are four children in this family. But let's say if there was another kid and they said that they wanted to move to another country, who knows where, do you have any like advice on how they could get started? Like first steps on how they could?
I would say pursue your dreams. So, contact the different, and this is what I've learned from you, Loretta, contact the ambassador, the consulate office there in the country that you want to go to, and learn about it, learn about the language, learn about the culture.
Exactly.
And then if that's your dream, save some money so you can get there.
Yeah.
So look at different ways, the Department of State, scholarships, programs to help you begin the process so that you can get there.
One day we were at church many years ago, and this couple
That's
was
what I was
visiting.
talking about.
Yeah. And then you said, I would like to go meet them, and then you went and asked them if I got to Japan one day, could I stay with you? And they're like, well, we don't know you, but well, yeah, you can.
Yeah.
And you exchange information, and then later you went.
Like within a
stayed
year,
with them.
I was there. in
Yeah,
their
and you
house.
were very young when
She
you
was
were
only
asking them
16.
that.
Your first trip to Japan was when you were 16 years old.
Yeah.
all those
Wow.
years ago.
And now look, you actually moved there. But what if you hadn't taken that very first step to
Yeah.
go and speak to them? Because they were in a way your way in.
Kind of.
So
Yeah.
that's they're not being afraid of people.
Yeah.
One of the things I noticed that I think is maybe a generational gap, but I've seen it a lot in old movies, but I feel like when you wanted to travel, maybe like 20, 30, 40 years ago, your first stop was like the embassy, the consulate. You would go to the American Express or something like that. There were travel agencies
Yeah,
that you would
yeah,
go
that's
to.
right, that's
And they
right.
would kind of hook you up with all of that. But now at this age, we think, I want to figure something out. Let me go on the internet and Google it.
Yeah.
And you're kind of overwhelmed with like all the information of everyone. Like it's kind of actually harder
too
to
much.
figure out how to get there on your own.
Yeah.
So I honestly think, like, I was watching a movie like Revolutionary Road or something, and they're like, "Oh, we want to move to France, so we'll go over to the embassy and we'll talk to them about what we want to do, and they'll help us get us done." Like, there are huge resources out there, like institutions, and they don't seem as cool as the internet, but they've been doing it the longest, and they have most of the info.
Yeah.
And,
So-
and didn't you tell me that a lot of these consulates and the governments, they're actually wanting people to come
Yeah.
over. They want people to contact them.
Yeah, there's like Foreign Service, State Department. There are so many actual like institutions that will put you in other countries, but we
Like
don't-
Lincoln did it with the people to people.
Yeah, exactly.
right,
Like my little brother did it, but I feel like it's kind of harder at this generation because our first stop is the internet, and then you kind of drown in all the information.
You kind of stop.
But the best information actually is kind of those places like the consulate, the embassy,
Yeah.
etc. So I would definitely say, as I've said before, check them out, and then check me out,
Check her out.
and then you know we'll hang out on the internet later.
So I was going to just simply say for the listeners and for the parents of the listeners that what parents should always do is encourage their children to be all that they can be, and follow your heart, not your head, your intellect, or what you learned in the classroom. But if your heart says, this is where I'm drawn, this is what I'm attracted to, have that freedom, that liberty to pursue it like you've always had, Loretta. And parents, the best thing you can do is encourage your kids to be all they want to be. Don't try to restrict them and say, oh, I'm your parent, you got to stay close to me, whatever you do.
Let 'em
No.
fly.
You got to let the freedom ring.
KemushiChan, one day
There you go.
one day I'll be a butterfly. So my final question to you guys is, if you could say anything in Japanese, what would it be?
How would you, because I know this is one I would want to know how to say, because Boomer was talking about this. How would I say, where is the men's room?
Actually, yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay, that's a good
Okay,
one.
That'll come up eventually.
okay, so you can just keep it simple. You can just say, ready?
Yeah.
Toire
Toide
wa
wa
doko
doko
desu ka?
desu ka? Toide wa
Doko desu ka?
toko desu ka?
So,
Help me again.
toire wa
Toide wa
doko desu ka?
toko desu ka?
We'll get him there.
Yeah.
And then he'll find us toilet.
Yeah, I'll be motivated to get that one right.
So I would say, where do I go to buy a kimono?
Okay. So kimono wa
Kimono wa
doko de kaemasu ka?
doko de kaenemasu ka?
You almost got there. You got there. Kaemasu. One more time.
Kimono da?
Kimono wa
Kimono wa
doko de kaemasu ka?
doko de kaenemasu ka?
Yay!
Perfection! Alright, so we're
You
going.
win the dress.
Yes, you get a kimono. Yay!
Beautiful pink or plum.
Yeah, that'd be a nice color.
Yeah.
Alright, guys, so you guys keep working on your Japanese.
Yes.
And we'll go over there to Japan. We'll check out
The cherry blossom.
cherry blossom.
Cherry blossom. The real cherry blossom.
Yeah.
kimono,
Kimono.
and the toilet.
That's too
How's
fun.
that for exciting?
It'll be
Wow.
amazing. It'll be
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we will see you guys I'll see you guys in another video, and we'll see you guys in Japan.
Bye bye.
Oh goodness.
I know Loretta does that with all of her movies. She goes, "Mwah."